Okay, hi guys. It's Mai and it's Win, and welcome back to another episode of Just Another Rant. And today we're gonna talk about very serious and much more depressing than usual um topic. And what is it? Win?
We're going to talk about how young people in Vietnam, specifically, don't really care about social issues. And
Right.
this is kind of like a recent realization that both of us have, with
Mm-hmm.
everything that's going on in the world with like the COVID-19 at the beginning of the year, and then later on, Black Lives Matter, and then other kind of social injustice issues that have been going on throughout our lives, like sexism, feminism, like homophobia, all that things just all piled up, and we think that this we should discuss about it now because it's very depressing. It makes us very sad and angry at the same time to see how people who are smart and young and privileged just give no shit about anything else but themselves.
Mm-hmm. And obviously this all started with the lockdown, the COVID-19 thing, and especially the Black Lives Matter movement. I think that was, I think it was around that time that I realized, oh my God, people are not at all informed about this. People are very ignorant about this. People are saying like really stupid and very ignorant things about Black people and about the anti-racist movement in the US and also in the world in general.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I realized, this is serious.
Right.
And also, the highlight of everything was, I don't know if I can tell you this, but we, okay, both of us had, had a, let's say a friendly conversation, with
Yeah.
our friends about racism and about Black Lives Matter, back in, I think in May or June.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, it turned out that not everyone was informed and uh, informed about racism, and even some are quite racist. Mm,
Right.
Okay, I should not say that they are racist, just the
No, there
thing that
are
they
there are
do.
just they have quite many underlying racist thoughts that maybe they don't really aware of, and it took over the conversation.
Right. And that was when I realized, oh my God, this is not just random hormonal teenagers on Facebook. This is about, the people in our lives. These are, people around us. And it's a serious issue and is a conversation that's much needed in times like this. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why, that's kind of like the inspiration, quote unquote, for this episode. And I think it's a topic that needs to be treated, that needs to be talked about more. And today we're going to try to, you know, add our voices to that conversation
Yeah.
and see what we can help.
Right.
Okay.
So first of all, um, just like classic just another Rant tradition, we're gonna blame it on education. So well, not
Right.
actually blaming, but we're if you don't know, the education that we receive in Vietnam, I'm not saying it's bad. It's not bad. I think it's there are always room for improvement in any education system anywhere, but in Vietnam, I think it's the education in Vietnam is so distanced from the current social issues. So because it was built, I think it was designed in the 80s, and from the 80s to now, um, there have there hasn't been much update or change to, like evolve with society. So in general, we don't receive the kind of, education that makes us more aware or more mindful of what's happening in society and how that's affecting us. We focus much more on academic performance, which I think is a good thing. Like if you're going to school, you obviously want to have good grades. So, yeah, but it's focused too much on that. And somehow I feel it's a bit dehumanizing. So, there's that. What do you think?
Well, I think the education system in Vietnam really I've always have I've always had this impression that they want to turn us all into sheep or something like that. They really endorse and encourage um, obedience
Mm-hmm.
as some sort of virtue, and they kind of like make us all callous and um, because I think this is not just the education system; it's also about the culture, because we
Yeah,
place so much emphasis on being obedient and being you know the perfect child, the perfect student in
right,
everyone's eyes. Ex-
right.
uh, okay, at least that that's what it was like for me.
Mm-hmm.
So and somehow that kind of turned us all into kind of like machines,
Mm-hmm.
and I really didn't feel like this education system leaves much room for me to develop as a person,
Mm-hmm.
and it just most of them focus more always focus on perf- academic performance,
Mm-hmm.
and like what you said, it's very distant from reality, from social issues, and doesn't really raise any interest or question um in students. um
Yeah,
I don't know, it's always like you kids don't know anything, you
right.
just shut up and listen to the adults, to your teachers, to your parents. And I think that's a very toxic mentality to have,
Mm-hmm.
because we all have things to learn from each other.
Right.
And, the Black Lives Matter movement, the racism or homophobia, transphobia, and veganism, and so many other things, those might be some of those things, right?
Yeah.
Those might be some of those things. That's a very vague sentence, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. Um,
Yeah.
and the Vietnamese education education system doesn't really encourage that. Um, place I think it places so much emphasis on students being students, and just like very passively perform at
I think
school,
it's yeah,
and
it's
then
like
the teachers
being
being the
passive.
teacher, and yeah, it's very passive. And I don't
Yeah.
know, like I'm
Right.
sorry, I don't have much to add
Obedience
in this.
obedience is a big thing. It's like you don't speak up, you don't point out things that the teachers may have said wrong or inappropriate, because that happens, human. It happens sometimes, but obedience equals kind of like morality, I guess. Like if
Yeah, I guess.
you're a good child and you're very obedient, and so that makes it. I think like growing up in that kind of culture makes us less likely to call somebody out for their action. And
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to have a conversation about social injustice and not call somebody out for their misbehavior, or something they
Right.
said, because because it's social injustice, it's very much ingrained in ourselves, and people might not even know that they are advocating for something that is evil. So
Mm-hmm.
it's calling people out is very important, and but because of that culture that we grew up in, it makes us feel like we don't earn the right to speak up.
Right. So let me get this straight. So the Vietnamese culture really um, basically tells us, teenagers, students, to just shut up and not speak up about things. And
Yeah.
then the education system um, doesn't really encourage people to educate themselves and to learn and to explore and to discover things because
Hmm.
it places too much emphasis on academic performance and
Right.
on tests.
Yeah.
And so, the combination of those two things leads to, you don't have enough knowledge to talk about, to call people out. And even if you have enough knowledge to, no, this is wrong, this is right, and you should call people out, people don't grant you the right to do that.
Right.
Especially a lot of, I'm sure there are like a lot of great teachers and great parents and great adults, grown up,
Hmm.
but the vast majority is not that cool. They're not that cool with, young people calling them out or pointing out, the thing that they did wrong, and they get super defensive about it and super even offended that somebody corrected them. And I feel like that is something that
Hmm.
really needs to be changed if we want to progress, if we want a better society for all of us. That is a wall that we need to just knock down.
Yeah.
So that is, we just discussed, the education and the cultural aspect of this. And obviously we left out a lot of things because, we didn't plan this very well, as, the case with every single episode of this podcast.
Yeah.
But I think one of the most important factor that
Mm.
contribute to, why people don't care about social issues, and more specifically, the Black Life, Black Lives Matter movement. What's wrong
Yeah.
with my mouth?
Oh God.
Is the media. I don't think.
Hmm.
I don't. Okay, I'm a little bit distant, and I'm a little bit alienated from um, Vietnamese media outlets.
Hmm.
But from what I've observed, in Vietnam, we don't really have a reliable or progressive media outlets, at least major media outlets.
Hmm.
They're not super progressive, I think, at least not, at least to my knowledge.
Hmm.
Um, and I've done my research and found out, we actually have a lot of organizations to, erase and raise awareness about social issues and discrimination and so. But they're not like super successful on, social media. They usually have not a whole lot of views or
Hmm.
engagement rate. And I'm wondering why.
Well, because in general, people are not interested in it. So there's that, and there's also, there's the PR and website management kind of thing, but like we don't know much about that, but we do see that there's such a big lack of interest from young people, especially to these kind of social justice issues. Therefore, it doesn't, just it doesn't drive the media to be more progressive because, as somebody, let's say somebody who are making content on these social media platforms or, magazines or newspaper, they don't see a lot of views on articles or posts about social injustices, but they see a lot of views and interaction with people on posts about I don't know, like celebrities or some kind of stupid things that happen or slime videos, something like that. And they would be like, oh, we should write more about slime. We should write more about celebrity. We should write more about this stupid new food that is all about cheese in the milk tea and boba, like all that stupid things, like supply and demand. They don't see the demand for progressive media, so they don't make it, and that's snowballing into like this big mess of nobody cares about the real stuff that is actually affecting their lives, and nobody is raising awareness about it. So it's just sad.
I think just to put things into perspective. I don't
What?
know how you feel about this, but we basically have more content and more articles about food
Right.
than about human rights.
Yeah.
So is that a good thing or not? I don't know. But anyway, I think um the media definitely played a big and important role in shaping, my thoughts and um my my ideas about so many issues. And I remember the first time that I really started to engage in like a progressive movement. It was when I was in high school, and that was when I went vegan, and that was when I really, dug into this. Like, oh my God, this whole movement, and this is such a global issue, and there's so many things that I can do and that I can care about. But I don't really see that kind of content in Vietnamese social media. I feel like at least they don't gain as much attraction.
Right.
And that's pretty sad because, if we talk about veganism is such a global issue, and or about the environmental issues, that is something you really need to care about. But not a lot of people on social media, on Vietnamese social media, are posting or even concerned about any of these movements. Okay, maybe environmental issues. That is something that people are trying to care more. But say sexism, feminism, veganism, transphobia, racism, people usually don't give a shit because they are so isolated and they're so alienated from it. Even though, like sexism is everywhere, or racism.
Sexism is a big thing in Vietnam. Like, it is insane to me now that I'm not in Vietnam anymore, and now that I am more, aware of it, and I look back, and it's like it's insane in Vietnam. I don't know. It's so ingrained in the culture that it makes me a little bit sad to think about how my mom or my my grandma has to go through this, and they don't even realize that it's an injustice and that they deserve better.
Right. And I think, okay, so the media definitely play an important role in shaping the person that I am and what I think.
Right.
But, and I think it's the same for people in Vietnam when they'll get on social media and they see, just entertaining stuff all the time, and they don't see, the social issues, they don't see anything they need to care about. It also really influences their their way of thinking. There's like they would not. I don't think it's hard. I think it's hard for people in Vietnam to realize that there are so many injustices in society because you of the cultural aspect alone really stopping people from seeking out and from speaking up, and then the education system really is stopping people from learning more, educating themselves more, and then you have the media, which is not really helping people to learn more,
Right.
which kind of leads eventually to this state of I don't care about social issues, the state of being super nonchalant about racism, super cool about Black Lives Matter. It's like, okay, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really touch me. Doesn't really concern me. Or sexism, and the same for all the ism. People just don't care.
Right.
And I think it's a very universal feeling among young people right now, because they are constantly told that all they need to care about is their career, is their boyfriend, girlfriend, is their whatever, and people are not encouraged to see, oh my God, there's so many things that I can do. There's so many things that is wrong with this society, and there's so many things that need to be done. They're not encouraged to see that. They're not encouraged to act on it. I've always believed that the hardest thing to do is, or at least one of the hardest thing to do, is to care. Because not only you need to care, you also need to care enough to translate that into action and into support. And I have to say it's pretty difficult, because like, for me, the only reason why I'm so passionate and I care about the social issues that I care about is because I speak English and I consume English speaking content online.
Yeah.
And that's my introduction into, every progressive movement that I'm engaged with. English is kind of like my, my ticket to my invitation to, all these movements. And for a lot of people, not everyone in Vietnam speak enough English to, consume English content on YouTube on a daily basis.
Or maybe they do speak, but they prefer Vietnamese.
Right, because it's easier, obviously. So there's definitely things that I can sympathize with. But when I see stupid things, racist slurs being said on Facebook by Vietnamese people, especially young people, really enrage me, because these people are supposed to be, the doctors and the engineers and the quote unquote future of this country, and they are so ignorant and they're so racist and they're so stupid and they're so insensitive to people's pain.
Yeah.
That really enrages me.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's always room to improve. There's always room to learning.
Yeah.
But there's a point when you just cannot think of any excuse for
Right.
that kind of behavior.
There's a point that we cannot tolerate any of those behavior, I think.
And
Especially,
that's when you need to call people out for.
Yeah. I think people get offended so easily when they are called out. Also because of the part of the culture. And like when you see like comments online, I think sometimes like with racist comments, not sometimes, every single racist comment on Vietnamese media, like there would be one or two or a few people who know about it, and like, you know, the people that pointed out that this is wrong, and they and the racists just get so offended, and everyone would like jump back and attack the person who is not racist. It's just so messy, and that it happens in real life as well.
Right.
Not to get too specific, but it's happened to us. It's not terrible, but it's actually terrible because I think.
What do you mean?
Well,
It's
I
not
don't want
terrible,
to.
but it's actually terrible. That is such.
Because there's a part of me that still want to defend them. There's a part of me that still want to keep making excuses for them, you know, for their behavior, for their racist behavior. But there's a part of me know pretty damn well that I earn all the rights in the world to be mad at them, and that this cannot happen anymore, and our relationship would never be the same. So there's two dynamic there. So that's why it's terrible, but not that terrible, but not really terrible.
Okay.
So, yeah. So this happens to us in real life. You know, we were very passionate about it, and we actually, you know what? We actually researched online how to speak to people, you know, when in these kind of situations, so that they would not get offended. And yeah, it's like we're not pointing finger at them and saying that they're racist. We are just trying to have a conversation, a friendly conversation, and pointing the finger at the racist system, not the people, because they get offended easily. But then, well, it didn't work. Okay, nothing
Right. And
really worked.
nothing really worked because I don't know. People are so caught up in proving that I'm not a bad person.
Right.
I'm not wrong. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and they get so defensive and so offended that you, like, such a teenager, such a young person like you, would point out
Right.
that the things that they did wrong. And it was like, no, you just didn't understand it. It was like completely immature and you need to learn more. Like, and it's really upsetting for me because we actually put out time and effort to like research how to talk to people.
Right. And we really care about their feelings as well, because, you know, it is uncomfortable and it is hard to have somebody else to have somebody else calling you out. But so what we did is that we try to be considerate and, you know, talk slowly, nicely, not raising our voice up, not talking loudly. But then that didn't work. That didn't work at all.
Basically, at the end of the day, who gets hurt? It's definitely not that person. It's definitely not that person.
Yeah.
And And
Well,
I feel
not that
like it's
person,
the
not
case for
people.
a lot of people. I feel
Yeah.
like that's the case for a lot of people as well. I read um an article on Vox about how young people are trying to have this conversation with their family members, and it really um there's some hope in me that, oh my God, I'm not the only one. A lot of
Right.
people are trying to have the conversation with their family. And
Right.
so I'm not the only one in who is in hardship. And people are really trying, and people are constantly coming up with new ways to talk to your family members and how to talk to them and try to really, I don't know, try to build some solidarity in here. And that is so positive. That's so wholesome. And I just love that so much. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, you look past that and you say, oh my God, there's so much work that needs to be done. And this
Right.
is not just something that can be done, the day, the night,
Right. It's a
in one
long
day, in one
process.
night. It's a long-term goal. It's a long-term project.
Yeah.
And we need to not give up. We need to keep on doing this.
Right.
And it's very important. Um, so basically, we, I think last week we were pretty depressed about, the state of the world as in general, because we realized, no matter what, how nice we
Right. Yeah.
try to be, people are still going to be racist. People are not willing to change their mind. People are not willing to accept they're wrong,
Mm-hmm.
that they need to learn more, that they need to inform themselves more, that they need to educate themselves more. People, a lot of people are not willing to do that. And, at some point, you just need to, do some detox, okay? This is just too much toxic for me.
Right.
And I need to get away from it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, really kind of make me feel very desperate and depressed. Um, but at the same time, when I see young people posting or reposting um, messages on Insta or on Facebook, I feel like, oh my God, there are actually some good in this whole situation. And there's always this back and forth for me.
Right.
It's like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm so depressed. Oh my God, there's a lot of hope. Oh my God, I'm so depressed. There's so much hope. And that's what that really, for me, that's really hard because it's confusing because, you know,
Right.
5 seconds before you
Yeah.
feel depressed and then you feel, oh my God, it's so awful, and then depressed again.
I think more than
Just
depressed.
this going back and forth. This is
Yeah. I think
just
more than depressed,
tiring.
I feel angry
I
because
feel annoyed.
yeah, I feel angry and annoyed because I feel embarrassed for them and I feel that secondhand embarrassment. Like I cannot imagine like some um people, who happen to also speak Vietnamese and some kind of a foreigner who happens to speak Vietnamese and they're like, "Oh, let's see how Vietnamese people think about this issue." And they go on Facebook or something and then they see the comment section and they will be like, "Oh my God, what is this? I can't believe this is happening." Like it's just so embarrassing and and it makes me so angry and it's especially make me angry when people who I love and cherish also think the same, like they are also racist or having racist thoughts and
I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
right. I think, one of the biggest issues that we are having right now is that people are not speaking up. People are not calling people out.
Right.
People choose to stay silent. And I hate that so much because there's so many things you can do. You can just retweet, you can just repost, you can just share. Just talk to people around you about this, and you can just learn more. And people are not willing to do that either, especially young people. And I feel like that is such a big problem because if everyone talks about this or, you know, calling people out for saying racist stuff, you know, people, it will spread so much awareness among the community.
Yeah.
And that would help so, so much. But people are choosing to stay silent and not speaking up about the big issue, the racism, which is very upsetting because it's not just everyone, it's not just, random people on the internet, just it's also, people around you. And I'm very upset because my friends, I've always thought of my friends as, people, very intelligent people, very sensible, reasonable, very smart people. And I really expected them to, be more responsible about this because, admit it or not, when you have a platform, no matter how small or big it is, you have some sort of responsibility
Oh my God, responsibility again.
Some kind of social responsibility. And I think at times like this, we really need to spread more awareness and really push people to learn more about racism. And there's so much thing, there's so many like easy things you can do. You can just repost, you can just post something, you can just a status, a Facebook status, or an Instagram post, an Instagram story, a retweet is not a large ask, is not a huge ask. And at a time where so many people are needing your support and you're choosing to stay silent, I think that is, I don't know, I think that's just sad because if I just imagine if you are a person of color, and you are facing racism every day, and not just, racism is institutionalized, racism is systematic racism. And how would you feel about this? How do you feel about your friends staying silent and not speaking up for you?
I
That
think
would
a
be
lot of people
devastating, I
think that, just having this kind of thought that they are not racist, then they've done their part, because they think like, oh, I'm not racist, I'm not contributing to the harm, so that's good enough. But actually, it's not, because I am sure we both still have some kind of prejudice, or some kind of underlying racist thoughts. And that there's so much room for improvement. Like both of us, there's still so much that we could learn. So just staying silent and thinking you've done your part that's not activism. Silence is not activism. Silence is just, dying on the inside.
You're basically siding with the oppressors.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, here's we're talking about Black Lives Matter. We're talking about racism here. We're not even touching on sexism and veganism and transphobia, homophobia. People are, it's definitely going to be a bit worse because I know.
It's a bit more relevant to the Vietnam society, like sexism. Sexism is probably the biggest one that we're talking so far. Anyways, it's just so discouraging and disheartening for people who are passionate about it to see, you know, other, just young, smart people also are just could not give a shit about this. And it's, yeah, this makes me so angry. I can't. I don't know. It makes me look at them differently. Like, look at them worse. Let's say that. Because I am
Mm.
so tired of keep finding excuses for them for not caring. Or, because, initially, I still try to, wearing their shoes and trying to understand them, and because I was one of them as also at one point. So there's that. But when the opportunity to be more aware has come, they refuse to take it, and it's just terrible. Okay, it is bad. It's so bad that we have to make a podcast episode 1 hour to complain about this. But do you have any solution?
Well, I solution maybe not, but advice or
Mm-hmm.
tips, I think I do.
Yeah.
First of all, is I think you just need to focus on yourself first. Try to inform yourself. Try to learn. Try to unlearn as well. There's
Yeah.
so many biases and prejudices that are ingrained in our culture
Mm-hmm.
and our society that we need to unlearn them. We need to unlearn all the sexist, racist, homophobic, transphobic, and so many things
Right.
from our belief system. Our, and it's not going to be done like in a month or something like that. It's going to be so, so, so much longer. It's never going to stop a thing. And
Mm-hmm.
learning is so important. I
Mm-hmm.
think just never stop learning and try to educate yourself and try to question what you believe and what you take as given um in your in your daily life. Like, wait, why am I eating meat? Is it ethical? Is it good? Is it harmful? Try to, I know it sounds hard. It is hard, but try to be mindful, try to be aware, try to question things and really seek out to information online. I think you have like basically the most powerful tool that has ever been given to anyone, which is, the online world, which is the
Mm-hmm.
internet. And you really need to use that to your to the best of your ability to
Right.
in order to educate yourself, in order to gain some knowledge about everything in the world.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that's the first tip that I have. Focus
Mm-hmm.
on yourself, educate yourself, and try to question things.
Right.
That Yeah, try to question things that you take as credit, as
Mm-hmm.
given,
Mm-hmm.
and also, I don't know, be mindful and be sensitive to
Right.
people's pain, I guess.
Yeah.
Just don't be an asshole. Like, if
Right.
people
And
are
I
saying,
think
oh my god, they
also,
are hurt, like, try to listen to them.
yeah, and also I think you would probably screw up at one point. You would
Right.
probably gonna say something insensitive, so apologize for it, and don't beat yourself up too much about it, because
Mm-hmm.
everybody is learning at the same time. So it's okay to make mistakes, but don't be an asshole. Just be nice. Always be nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's like it sounds so simple, but it's so hard to not be an asshole because we
Mm-hmm.
human. There's a there's a freaking demon inside of me that's always just want to come out and destroy everything I'm working on. But that's fine. You know what? We're gonna take it slow. We're gonna be nice. And
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so the second tip I think is, after educating yourself and, having all the information
Mhm.
and realizing, oh my God, there are such and such problems, I
Mhm.
think you should start to speak up about it, raise
Right.
awareness, spread the message. And
Mhm.
if people in your life are doing something problematic, you should be able to call them out or just give them advice or trying to, tell them to tone it down a little bit or
Right.
something like that. And it
Mhm.
does not have to be, a very like, fiery conversation. Um, it can be
Right.
like a letter or just a friendly reminder, things like that. Like,
Yeah.
hey, when you do that, it's not very nice. Like
Mhm.
what you did is not very good. Can you not? Or can you turn it down? Things like that.
Right.
And and don't stay silent. Speak up about things you care about. And yeah, because it's very important adding your voice to the conversation and be
Mhm.
actively engaged um
Right.
with the causes.
Right.
It's very important, and people when they see that, oh my God, you are doing this and that, like why you're doing this, they would be curious, and maybe that would be you would, oh,
Sorry.
what was that?
No, it's the car.
And maybe you would be the person who leads them to these kind of progressive movements, and that is an
Yeah.
honor.
Mhm. Yeah. It's so nice. Be nice. And yeah, just I think just be a good example is like how I see it with me being vegan also, like just eat my food and be nice. And yeah, my mom or my parents, my sister would start to see positive changes in me, and they would want to do some good for themselves as well. So there's that. And then I think with feminism, just as an example, I think I once told my mom um, last year that she doesn't have to give up what she wants. Like, if I just want her to be herself rather than like a person of this family, like, I don't want you to be just my mom. I want you to be you as well. And now she is much happier. She found her interest in other things, and she signed up for ceramic classes and like find time for herself. And I think that's nicer than just being a mom, which is wonderful. Being a mom is wonderful, but also about being yourself. And there's long story, but like be a good example and tell people nicely about the injustice that they might not be aware of. Yeah.
Mhm. And also, if you are planning to call someone out, don't expect them to don't expect them to change overnight,
Right.
because you should see this as a long-term process, a long-term project,
Mm-hmm.
and
Don't make our
it would take
mistakes.
right. People make mistakes. It's human. It's
Yeah.
human,
Right.
and allow people and also yourself room for change, room for improvement,
Right.
and try to be, I don't know, be humble, because there's so many things that you don't know yet.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't say that you don't know what you don't know. Like, there are so many things that I don't know, and I always have to be humble, like,
Right.
so that I wouldn't,
Mm-hmm.
because I used to be like an asshole, and
Oh yeah.
took
We
me a
we were asked.
lot. It took me a lot to be, become more humble and become more receptive of critic
Mm-hmm.
and um, more sensitive, more sensible, more reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
It, I, I think I have come a long way. And if you're planning on, talking to people, I think you should remember that. Also,
Yeah.
you should remember that um, it's gonna take more than just one day for them to change, and you should leave them a lot of room to process
Mm-hmm.
um, their feelings and their thoughts, and also try to. I think one of the most important thing in activism is self-care. Like you need to. There's a reason why people talk about a lot about self-care nowadays,
Yeah.
and that's because when you are so engaged with all kind of movements,
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy to be overwhelmed by all the pain that is happening around the world, and there's a limit to it, and you should really pay attention to your mental health. Like if it's a little too much, step away from it
Right.
and give yourself time to find the balance.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's all my tips.
Yeah, that's
I don't have
great.
like any there's I don't really have any like real tips or solution to this, but I'm
Yeah, it's
just
just
saying things.
we are all just trying to figure this out, as always.
Yeah, like I think like us doing this episode is an effort to raise awareness and
Mm-hmm.
to do our part in
Mm-hmm.
activism.
Right.
And although this podcast and this episode in particular is probably gonna be real shitty when I listen back, maybe just next week. But at least we did something.
Yeah.
And I think we are never perfect. And there are a lot of things that we might have said wrong
Mm-hmm.
and or not exhaustive or precise enough.
Right.
But at least we put a lot of effort into this, and
Right.
at least it is coming from a sincere place,
Uh-huh.
and I think that's very special, and it is something that to be cherished.
Oh yeah.
So, do you have anything to add to the conversation?
No, I think yeah, I think this is more than enough of what I want to
Okay,
say.
okay. So, oh God, how do we end this
That's it.
episode?
Goodbye. Have a great day. Don't be an asshole. Be a nice
And
person.
okay, and follow us on Instagram at just.another.ran. Our podcast is really failing in terms of engagement, and we need you to give us a lot of life and love because we are very desperate and depressed.
Well, oh god, we're not. No, it's not that
I'm
bad.
just
It's
okay.
fine.
I'm so sorry.
It's
I'm
fine.
being like I'm
Okay.
being too extra today.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. But
It's midnight. It's midnight in Vietnam, so excuse me.
yeah. Okay. It was a. I think it was a nice episode actually. Today's episode is actually nice and insightful. It's not just
Okay.
bullshit. So thanks God. Um. Goodbye. See you next time.
My
Bye.